Welcome back, everyone, to another episode of Business Talks. I am your host, Chawanne Burns. In today's episode, we are going to discuss New York. Eric Adams, they had a confrontation at one of the immigration, housing place, homeless shelters. they had a run in with the police, and they had to use excessive force on one of the illegal immigrants. Okay. And so the whole thing is the question we have to ask. Um, are they going to start protesting against the police of police brutality? Okay, I'm waiting for this protest to arise with AOC and all the people that loves the open border policy. I'm waiting for that to come about. Also, we don't hear a lot of protests within our Black community when we lose someone of our own from our own. And they use the word, I don't know if you care for this word, Black on Black crime, but I want to highlight this young individual, 19-year-old Mahogany Jackson. She was kidnapped, and subsequently she was murdered. Actually, she was 20. So, but we don't get out and protest when we lose someone of our own from our own people. And I have a problem with it. So we're going to discuss that today. All on today's episode of another episode of Business Talk.
Something like this. Looks a little bit like I can't miss. Hey, this is what you call a bad. What? This is what you call a bad. Looks a little something like this. Looks a little bit like I can't miss. Hey, this is what you call a bad. What? This is what you call a bad.
You guys put in the chat, let me know where you're viewing from. Put in the chat, let me know where you are viewing from. We have Carlos McGuire in the building from Montgomery, Alabama. Thank you, Carlos. Noble Young is in the building. Thank you for tuning in. You guys just put your name in the chat. Let me know where you're viewing from. Okay, our first story of the hour, we're going to talk about Mayor Eric Adams again. Yesterday, we talked about that was Monday. We talked about him. He's turning his back or doing a 180 turn on immigration. Okay. For some reason, I think he's starting to realize, okay, no good deed goes unpunished, that type of thing. And I believe all these major sanctuary cities are starting to realize that no good deed goes unpunished, because now you have the total or wholly responsibility to house, feed, provide social assistance, education, health assistance to illegal immigrants. Okay. I'm not going to stop calling them illegal immigrants. They're not residents or they're not citizens of the United States. So I'm going to call them illegal immigrants because they probably came over here illegally. If you've been following this channel for a while, months ago, probably back last year in May, we went over the numbers of how many, approximately 90% of the people that crossed the border came over here illegally. So I'm not going to stop calling them illegal immigrants. I'm sorry to offend you, but that's what we're going to call them. Okay, so Mayor Eric Adams, he's defending the police using excessive force on this particular migrant. And it says Adams says NYPD took appropriate action during a stun gun arrest at migrant shelter in Queens. And this is the arrest that happened.
That reaction to that video that showed police using a stun gun on a migrant as he held his 1-year-old son at a shelter.
The Immigration Coalition calls it troubling, but Mayor Adams is backing the actions of police.
Eyewitness News reporter Michelle Charlesworth in the newsroom with our lead story tonight. Michelle.
Well, the baby, let's first of all say, was not hurt. Appropriate and necessary action was taken by police, according to Mayor Adams. Keep in mind, we are showing you cell phone video obtained by the New York Times, but the mayor spoke with the police commissioner who saw this from body cameras worn by the responding officers. This is video obtained by the New York Times. This was Friday night around 10. Police responded to a call from a shelter in Jamaica regarding an intoxicated man threatening staff. He would not leave. At one point, the man was holding his one-year-old son. This is a picture obtained by the Times that seems to be the baby in a striped onesie. The man was ordered repeatedly to hand the child over to safety. He was dry stunned by police, which police say is more precise. Once that baby, who was unhurt, was out of his arms, he struggled with police officers before being taken into custody.
This person was under the influence of alcohol, holding the child. Those officers had to get that child from him so that child was not going to be endangered.
The mayor and police were able to see a different view.
All of this is on body-worn camera. Those officers responded to a person who was dangerous, and he took appropriate actions. They wanted to get that child out of that gentleman's hand after warning him several times, asking him to turn over the child several times. He refused to. He was violent. He was volatile. They had to take that necessary action. And, based on our review, those officers took appropriate action.
Again, the baby was not hurt. The man in the white shirt has been identified as 47-year-old Yanni Cordero, who's arrested and charged with resisting arrest, as well as other charges, including acting in a manner injurious to a child. Again, the baby's 1-year-old. His wife, 23-year-old Andrea Parra, also was arrested because she allegedly interfered. The couple was held for about 24 hours over the weekend. They are from Venezuela. They have 3 children total. They have been here since December. They have now been moved to a Brooklyn shelter over the weekend. Child Services took care of their children.
Okay, so one thing I do want to point out, this has nothing to do with immigration, but does anybody finds it alarming? This guy is 47, police says a 47-year-old man, and he's married to a 23-year-old. Look, and you got 3 kids. Okay, talking about child predator. But anyway, she's grown. She's over 18, I guess. That strikes me as alarming. Another thing that strikes me, okay, this made the news of, oh, you guys are hurting the migrants. They didn't come over here to be mistreated. That I think that's a narrative that they're going to start painting, actually. So not only that we have this engineered problem, like I mentioned before, illegal aliens, these sanctuary cities takes the responsibility on housing these migrants, feeding these migrants, providing education, providing medicine for these illegal aliens. And not only that, they come over here and start giving police a hard time. You know, they don't really respect the police force. So you got to wonder, this is a engineered problem that these sanctuary cities created for themselves. No help to Joe Biden, because he could have closed the border and they wouldn't have this compounding problem. Okay, so they arrested the 22-year-old, which is the mother, and they arrested the father. Okay, so they got 3 kids that they had to put in, I guess, custody of the CPS. So now you get illegal aliens. You're taking their children away and you putting them in custody of Child Protective Services because their parents were arrested. Can anybody tell me, does this even make any sense? Do you open up a CPS case? You will open it up on Americans. Well, would these people get CPS, child endangerment? Now they getting visit from the federal, or I guess the local government, because it's ran by the state. Are you going to put them on paperwork? Oh, but you probably can't, because they're not citizens. Anyway, listen to this comment. It says, we are troubled by the video taken at the migrant shelter in Queens that shows NYPD officer responding to asylum seeker with violence. I told you this is the what's going to happen. You're going to have a big protest on illegal aliens or for illegal aliens. While he was holding a 1-year-old baby. You're in the city that they don't like the police. They don't like the police. They don't respect the police. And Mayor Eric Adams, he's going to lose favor. He already lost favor. They don't want the illegal aliens there, but then they want to stick up for the illegal aliens, saying, "Oh, you can't do this." Well, they do it to Americans. Why can't they do it to illegals? I just don't understand. This is Murad Awada, president and CEO. Individuals in the city's care must be actually cared for and not hurt by staff or police. Well, if they are being if they're trying to hurt other people because they're drunk or whatever, what do you think? I guess people put, oh, they could act however they want and you're not supposed to get involved. I guess that's what he's saying. The city must hire shelter staff who are culturally competent, bilingual or multilingual, or ensure the communication breakdowns don't lead to avoidable misunderstandings that escalate into violence. Have you ever tried to negotiate with a drunk person? It doesn't matter if you have a language barrier. Have you ever tried to negotiate with a drunk person? And like I said, it's an engineer problem. I'm pretty sure they have a bunch of Spanish speaking individuals. I don't know what type of Spanish or language Venezuelans speak, but I'm pretty sure it's like Spanish or Portuguese. But how is that okay? We don't have those people in our on our staff, so they can't come here. Then you'll be complaining about, oh, you don't have beds because for Venezuelans because you don't have enough Spanish people staffing at that shelter. I mean, you can't win. You can't win with these people. So the city shelter must hire bilingual and multilingual, culturally competent. Don't know what that means. Everyone deserves due process. We call on the mayor, Adams, to stop spreading inflammatory, unproven information about this case. Well, it's on the video. What is he saying? The Queens District Attorney Office must complete a thorough investigation that looks into the brute force used in this incident. It doesn't look like they use brute force. I mean, you guys put in the chat, they did tase the guy, but they said they dry tased him so he wouldn't drop the baby. I don't know what that means. I guess less voltage. I'm not for sure. I'm not a police officer, but they use the word dry tase. Anywho, that's all I'm going to say about that. You guys put in the chat. Let me know what you think. Kennard, the DJ, what is going on? Our next story, we have, I want to talk about Mahogany Jackson. This is a very sad story to me. Very sad story. I just want to read this before we start. I asked GPT to list all the protests that happened in the United States over the last 10 years and give the reasons and cite where the protests happened. Okay. So they gave me all the protests that happened. I'm not for sure for how accurate it is. I'm pretty sure there's other protests that happen, but they list some um, interesting, not even interesting. I guess you want to call. They cited several protests. Okay, over the last 10 years, and particularly the ones Black Lives Matter took the lead. And one in 2013, after the acquittal of Trayvon Martin, remember he was slain or killed by the neighborhood police watch. The boy had a hood on and he was 16 or 17. But in Florida, they have open carry law. And I guess if you advance at that person, they have the right to shoot you, I guess. So very different laws in Florida. But it sparked a movement. The BLM movement gained momentum over several years. In 2014, the police shooting of Michael Brown in Ferguson. Remember that shooting? The young man got into exchange of words with the police, and the police end up shooting him. That Jefferson, Missouri. I believe Cori Bush was involved in that protest. And then you had when George Floyd, when he was killed, and that was in Minneapolis, Minnesota. Okay, so over the last 10 years, then you had I don't know why they didn't list this, but maybe they didn't protest. I'm not for sure. I'm pretty sure they did. But Tiana, what's her name? Tiana Brown. That's the young lady that the police had a warrant for her boyfriend, and they came in unannounced and they started shooting at each other. The boyfriend did not know it was the police. He thought somebody was trying to rob him or whatever. And they end up killing the young girl. Okay. So that was a protest. And then they listed March for Our Lives. I don't know what that's about, but it's happened in Florida. Okay. Woman March. Remember Donald Trump took office and everybody went crazy, especially all the women, because he made the statement prior to him actually winning. It came out that he said, "Oh, you got to grab her by the coochie," and everybody was mad about that. Stop Asian Hates. Yeah, you guys remember that? Stop Asian Hates because of the coronavirus, and now people were targeting Asian people because they thought maybe Asian people had coronavirus. Really crazy. So it sparked another protest to stop Asian hates, and that was during COVID-19. And they put 2021. I don't know how true that is. You think it would have been earlier on than that, but maybe 2021. That's when they lift. Everybody was able to go outside. So I'm like I said, I don't know how true these numbers are, but we know Stop Asian Hate protests existed. Actually, your president, he signed a bill or executive order in law about Asian hate of Asian Americans and Pacific Islanders. So he has a specified bill because of that. Okay. Then the Capitol riot, they're saying that was a protest. Okay. So Capitol riot, that was January 6th. And then the pipeline they mentioned. But anywho, my point of me bringing all this up, all these events that happen, okay, it's particularly the Black Lives Matter, it's among, or the deed was done by a police officer to a Black person, or the deed was done by another race. Okay. We don't see not one uprising in the last 10 years that a Black person was heinously killed by another Black person. We didn't take to the streets for none of that stuff. I believe, and I'm a firm believer, if we're going to tell a person of another race how to treat us, we need to tell our own people, well, this is our standard. So how can we set a standard with somebody else and you don't set it with your own people? You allow your own people to do whatever to you. So that's why I wanted to talk about Montgomery, a Mahogany Jackson. Okay. Like I said, this is a horrific story. Mahogany Jackson texts she was kidnapped, and 8 days later, 8 suspects were charged in her murder. Okay. This is an Alabama mother, Mahogany Jackson. She was found shot in the back of the head February the 26th by the side of the road in a remote area of Birmingham, Alabama. Hours after she texted her mother saying that she's been kidnapped and asking for help, according to the Birmingham Police Department. They said they charged 6 of the 8 suspects is in connection with the kidnapping and murder of the 20-year-old. And they are set to appear in court today for their preliminary hearing. The fact of this case are deplorable and sickening. Saddest of all, they were made public by the suspect's decision to videotape portion of this horrific act. And we have shielded Mahogany's family and friends by withholding specific facts surrounding the investigation. However, we determined that Mahogany was a victim of sexual assault and murder and kidnapping. This is undoubtedly one of the most heinous acts I've seen in my career, and it's absolutely disgusting. And these are the suspects. Brandon Pope, 24, Francis, 25, Jeremiah McDowell, 18. We were charged with capital murder during the first-degree kidnapping and capital murder during first-degree sodomy and are being held without bond. You actually have females in this. This is disgusting. Females that's a part of this. Giovanni Clapp, 23, Blair Green, 25, Sanaya McCall, 23, were charged with felony murder, first-degree kidnap, first-degree sodomy, while Tasia Lewis, 26, was charged with felony murder. All these people are in their 20s. You have some females that said, okay, yeah, let's kidnap this young lady and do the things that nobody would think to do with her. And then this girl looks, something's wrong with her because she got a lot of stuff going on with her scalp. Thurman said the suspect in the case were not strangers and were all acquainted with each other. He also said that Jackson was acquainted with the suspects, so she knew them. She knew them. Okay. And the Birmingham Police Department told ABC News in the phone interview on Monday that police began the investigation into the incident as a missing person case after they were notified at 11 a.m. local time on Sunday, February 25th, about the text message that Jackson sent to her mother. In the message, Jackson told her mother that she was being held as hostage and shared the name of the individual who lives in the apartment where she allegedly being held, as well as the address, and asked her mother not to call her back, but urged her to call and reach out to the police. Fitzgerald said that it was the last time anyone heard from Jackson. So she was being held. This is This is another thing that's disturbing. Your child calls you. I don't know what the time that your child calls you and say, "Hey, don't call me back, call the police, and this is the address." And then on Sunday, 11 a.m., you decided to respond. Do we know if Mahogany could have been saved between the time that the police was notified and now? This is what I'm saying. Why aren't we up in arms about this shit? Why aren't we up in arms? If your baby called you and said, "Hey, I'm kidnapped. Don't call me. Don't call me back, mom. This is the address. This is the guy that kidnapped me. Please call the police." Wouldn't the police, that's the right response to be like, let's just do a welfare check? Why aren't anyone up in arms about this? Okay, what time did the police get the call? She was still alive then. You guys let me know if I'm going in the wrong direction. Why aren't we mad? We should be mad as hell about this. Where is Black Lives Matter in Birmingham? I know they got one in Birmingham. Where is the civil rights organization? I'm not for sure. NAACP. Where's Al Sharpton? Where's that one lawyer that always pick up case against police brutality? Where are these people at? Sound like Mahogany Jackson. They just like, oh yeah, we'll get to it when we can. And Sunday morning, you decided to get to it. That's what it sounds like. They didn't put the time on here though. The police went to the apartment right away and began searching immediately. They searched the apartment where she was supposedly they where she was supposedly. They searched the complex. They spoke to a witness, but by then Jackson was not there. According to Fitzgerald um, BPD, detectives learned during the investigations that the alleged kidnappers found out that Jackson used her phone after she texted her mother and threatened her to reveal her passcode so they could unblock her phone. Jackson could have presumably been moved to a different location before the police arrived on the scene. One of the suspects told her if she give her password, they would allow her to live. According to the police witness, who is not involved in the incident, found Jackson's body around 2:19 a.m. on the side of the road of 17th Street Southwest and Laurel Avenue. Fitzgerald said that the Jackson body was found in kind of an isolated area near the residential neighborhood and about 2.5 miles away from the apartment that Jackson was indicated that she was being held at the text message to her mother. These kind of people, they don't have multiple apartments. They all probably was living together, living at them. What is going on? I can't imagine having 8 people agree to do this to one young lady. Drugs, devil worshiping. I'm not for sure. How did 8 people agree to say, "Oh yeah, let's do this to this young lady"? Jackson family and community members held a candlelight vigil on February the 29th in honor of memory at the Serenity Apartment Complex, community in Powderly community in Birmingham. This is what we do. So one of our own kills one of our own. We hold a candlelight vigil. That's all we do. We hold a candlelight vigil. We don't call out the people that's done the crime and then their parents. Like, what kind of child are you raising? Even though they're not children, their mothers and fathers, if they're around, they're probably the ones who's doing wrong deeds too. They probably been harassing the community for the longest because these are their seedlings, these devils right here. Back in the day, you couldn't do wrong. Your parents were shamed. And sometimes you was run out of town. Just remember back in the day when you got pregnant, they shipped you off. And sometimes if your parents was well to do, sometimes they move out of town. Because you done embarrassed the whole family that you done got pregnant. Or you up there stealing from the store. You stole from the store. Your parents used to make you go back to the store and return the item, and then you had to apologize to whoever who owned the store, or the manager. That's what they used to do. But we got so far from community love and God, we like to harm people that look like ourselves. And we hold candlelight vigils. It says Jefferson County District Attorney Danny Carr, whose office is investigating this case, told that the Jackson family, who attended the bond hearing for the suspects, is shaken. They're definitely shaken. It is one thing to hear a lot of what we call chitter chatter out there, but to be in a formal setting and hear what's happening or happen to a loved one like that could be very disheartening, obviously. As if the police officer expect to arrest any additional suspects, they said not so far. That's what they asked the police department. They don't see any more suspects. He added that while arrests have been made, the investigation is still ongoing. Detective is gathering evidence and polishing up this case ahead for the future trial. Okay. Like I said, Mahogany Jackson, she was a young mother. She knew these, I guess, individual, or knew of these individuals. I don't know how they would know each other. Maybe they lived in the same area. Because she was somewhat younger than them. I think the youngest one that they arrested was the 18-year-old boy. But it's sad. This is really sad. And then our community, we are silent. We hold candlelight vigils. We need to be outraged. Individuals like this, their parents, because they raised these type of people, we need to be pushing them out your community. And be a voice saying, hey, we're not gonna tolerate this anymore. Then we could say, Oh, you don't have the right to the white man. You don't have the right. We don't put that. We don't put up that with that in our community. You definitely can't come on in our community doing some BS. We don't police our own people. I just don't understand how we are not policing our own people and letting them get away with this kind of shit. Even letting the police get away with this stuff. If the little girl was found a block and a half at 2 o'clock in the morning, she was still in that apartment building somewhere. Anyway, let me get to some of your chats. Lexi says Trayvon Martin was murdered by George Zimmerman. Yeah, Trayvon Martin. And they let him go. George Zimmerman. He in Florida, they have like, you can't approach me, stand your ground. That's what it's called, stand your ground. Florida is a stand your ground state. You stand your ground to I think he was 16, 17. Trayvon Martin was a baby. They let that go. And that was really sad. That was really sad. Kennard said, what I notice in most cases when Black people riot or protest for another Black person, the person usually ain't a stand-up citizen. Yeah, it's not a stand-up citizen, number one. And then number two, the deed was done by another white person. Remember the guy that got beat up by police officers? Four police officers, Black police officer, beat up. They said gang style, whipped this guy's butt. He ended up dying, and this was in Memphis. They beat him down. He ended up dying, and no one protests. And then they actually had the nerve to get on the news to try to blame white supremacy. No, these are people, police officers that shouldn't be police officers. But we didn't see no protests. None. No protests. But they did try to switch it up, saying, oh, reason why they act like that is because of white supremacy. I didn't see any white men involved in this. It's really, really crazy to me how our people would try to hold somebody else accountable, and we don't hold our own people accountable. I should have pulled the statistics up of Black on Black crime. We kill more of each other than the police. Did you know that? Like the gun violence that we have on each other, about 45,000 people die a year. Black people die a year by another Black person. And then you have police officers, the likelihood of you dying from a police officer is slim to none. The likelihood of you is very likely that you would die from another Black person. Probably your neighbor. If you live in the hood. But we do not want to hold ourselves accountable. Lexi says, I was with BLM till they started committing crimes and fighting over donating money. Lexi's like, I don't got time for this shit. Y'all committing crimes and they're fighting over donating. Mahogany's case is one of the worst I've seen. That poor girl was tortured and murdered. I can't. Some of the stuff I skipped over because they was being very graphic. I can just imagine being, it's one thing that someone take your life, real quick. Then there's another. You're tortured for hours. They said they tortured her for hours, then taped some of it. That, to me, that's really inhumane. You got to be disgusting. A disgusting person to do that to a person. And that's why I don't understand. I can't even wrap my head around, you had 8 people that said, oh, we agree to this. Yeah, we're agreeing to treat this person this way. Jay says, one thing that the protests have in common is feelings of injustice. I hope you connect the dots. Feelings of injustice. Yeah, the protests, feelings of injustice, but what about injustice between your own people? I mean, it seemed like we jump from one place to another, but we ignore our own community. Like, I feel injustice. Why aren't we protesting the schools? You know, half of these problems will be solved if we had a better education system, more jobs and more opportunities. Young people will start feeling some sense of self-worth when you're competent, when you're a competent person. I bet you when they get into the history of these individuals in court, and I'm pretty sure they're going to dive into history and try to psychoanalyze these people, I'm pretty sure they have very low IQ. They probably didn't even finish school. They probably do drugs. A lot of them don't have a mom or a dad that's in a stable home environment. And yeah, Mahogany, she was tortured and SA'd by men and women. And Jace, if you don't like what I'm saying, you don't have to be here, buddy. You probably believe that the white man's out there to get you instead of holding your own future in your hand. You believe that every time you lose an opportunity is some type of injustice involved. No, how about you just do better? Like, come on now. So I'm not gonna, go back and forth with you. I'm not, because you're not you're one of those people, like, black people don't have the problem. It's just the other people. Black individuals, they don't have the problem. It's just everybody else has the problem. But everybody other race is doing way better than us. You got to look to yourself, okay? So Kennard, the DJ, where's the posters at? Justice for Mahogany Jackson. Kimberly Watson says, yes, ma'am. I made my son do it. I went right with him. Yeah, I remember I stole some color pencils and the guy knew my mom. And he was like, they called me TT. This was when I was a kid. I was a child, literally. I tried to steal some coloring pencils, and my mom, everybody knew my mom. But the guy, I forget what the guy's name is, but he was like, you either put those back or I'm going to call your mom right now. And I was like, I guess I'll put them back. I guess I'll put them back, sir. Then one other time, my brother, he stole some ice cream. And he tried to eat it. And my mom was like, well, you didn't have no money. How you get that ice cream? So she knew he stole it. We had to walk up to the store, and she made my brother apologize. And she, of course, she made him take that ice cream back. Stuff like that. And then you remember, like, I can't say I never tried to steal again. I can't say that because I was a kid. But in my grown years, no, I wasn't trying to steal. Like, you go back to that time that you was humiliated. Like, dang, I remember my mom made me go back to the store and return this. It's totally embarrassing. It's totally embarrassing. And okay, so Jay says there were protests for Tyree Nichols. Yeah, sure. Can somebody tell me what was the protest? I don't remember any protests for Tyree Nichols. They were protests on the news because they were trying to make it like it was white supremacy. The protest. White supremacy caused Tyree Nichols to be beaten up by some black people, police officers. And then they got mad at some individuals. I forget one guy, news media personality. He blamed that because, Memphis police was the lieutenant. She was a woman, and he basically said not black woman. He basically said women can't lead. So that was a protest. But specifically on Tyree Nichols, no, they didn't protest that. Look, before they knew it was black police officers that was involved, yeah, it was a bunch of uproar. But then once they shined their faces, the 4 individuals that was, I guess, suspended or demoted or fired, black folks get quiet. So what are you talking about? Anyway. Donald said, we are afraid of each other. We are up against killers. Most people are law-abiding citizens who want to live. We don't have the courage of the old Southern blacks who bled and died. Yeah, we're kind of like, oh, we want to stay in our own business. We don't want to get involved. If the police officers, they don't actually do the work and these people end up getting let out, then they will get targeted. So you're kind of scared. I could see that happen because a lot of people, police officers like, oh, try to solve some killings. But well, back in the day they tried to, but nobody used to talk to the police, They it's hard, it's like pulling teeth. Anyway, Leela is saying that this case is so similar to the case that happened to East Cleveland. A young black woman got kidnapped, tortured, and killed in a basement by a group of people, including women and men. That is sick. I mean, I think some people are demonic. I just gotta say demonic, because I don't understand what would make you do this kind of thing. Okay. So that's all I'm going to say about that. That's all I'm going to say about that. Once the trial start, we'll try to get into it. But you guys, I'll keep you posted. Anywho, thank you for tuning in. I know I set the live stream on a different time because I got parent teachers conference, but tomorrow we'll go back to our regular scheduled time at 1:30. So I am sending all my good to you. I appreciate every single last one of you, and I will talk to you tomorrow.